There's essentially two different types of visas to enter the United States lawfully. And by the way, those who are violating their visas account for about 35 to 40% of the illegal aliens in this country. Did you know that? There are immigration visas. They're permanent. They can be for employment or non-employment. And non-immigrant visas. They're temporary, can be for employment or non-employment too. Now the immigrant, this is generally known as green cards. One can get one based on family, marry an American, a dependent of a green card holder, etc., or employment-based. An employer can sponsor an employee, or if an individual possesses such extraordinary talent in his or her field, he or she can self-sponsor. All of this carries legal and regulatory requirements that are stringent and onerous and yet fair. That's for the would-be immigrant. Now the non-immigrant. These are essentially identified by letters of the alphabet. One can get a non-immigrant visa to enter and be in the U.S. lawfully on a temporary basis. Terms of the visa dictate parameters of the stay. Process for obtaining a visa generally involves two federal departments, Department of Homeland Security and the State Department, with the exception of so-called B1 and B2 visas and business tourist visas from waiver countries. So you file a visa petition with the Department of Homeland Security and the Department of State, and this petition seeks a lot of information and gets filed in a USA regional office. If approved, the petition goes to the petitioner, to the State Department, to the U.S. Embassy Consulate, where the beneficiary will be going to obtain the visa. Now, once the petition is approved, the individual secures an appointment at an embassy or consulate and undergoes an interview. And post 9/11, all have to be in person. So unlike other laws, immigration law presumes unlawful behavior. That's why you get the interview. That is, that the beneficiary is going to overstay, so he or she carries the burden of overcoming immigrant intent. You have to show immigrant intent, and that immigrant intent must be a temporary visa. You're intending to stay here temporarily. So when being interviewed, that's, among other things, what the interviewer is trying to determine. It illustrates how solid and well thought out these laws actually are. And the beneficiary does this by proving ties to his home country, that he's not seeking a temporary visa to leave his country and stay in our country. Now, if one of these visas is given, it is placed in the passport, and this visa only permits the person to travel to the U.S. through an authorized point of entry only, like get on a plane, fly to the U.S., go through immigration, not leave the airport until you've gone through that process. And the Department of Homeland Security then comes back into the picture, interviews the beneficiary one more time at the port of entry, at the place of entry, and at that time the person is awarded, if they are, a validity of stay, it's called, a validity of stay period. And they're allowed to leave the port of entry. It is that duration that determines how long a person can stay lawfully in the United States. And you can seek to get it extended. Now here's examples of visas. A. These are the letters that are used. An A visa, career diplomats. A B1 visa, business. A B2, a tourist visa. A C, a transit visa. D, crew members. E, treaty traders and investors. F, students. Now, a student can stay and engage in optional practice training for a particular period in the field. I'm not going to get into the weeds. I'm just saying you can get a student visa. G, international organization representatives. H-1 visas. You've heard them talk about this on Capitol Hill. Specialty occupation, like these IT experts. H-2 visas, you've heard about this. Seasonal, originally intended for those who pick crops and other seasonal work. The I visa, foreign media representatives. The J visa, training. Now, the purpose here is to learn a trade here and take it back to your home country and help your home country. M visas, students in non-academic institutions. An N visa, parents and children of special immigrants. An O visa, aliens of extraordinary abilities, Nobel Prize winners, individual entertainers, extraordinary talent. A P visa, entertainers in a group, like circus performers. Q, cultural exchange program participants. R, religious workers. A TN visa, individuals whose occupations are listed under NAFTA to facilitate travel among the U.S., Canada, and Mexico. This is a very well thought out system that virtually no member of Congress has bothered to learn, while they go on and on. Oh, we need comprehensive immigration reform. That has nothing to do with it. Here's some other terms you need to know. TPS, temporary protected status, granting the same to individuals whose home country's conditions are such that temporarily prevent those individuals from returning home safely. In other words, in many cases, escaping political repression. Now, regarding the B1 and B2 visas, business and tourist visas, respectively, it doesn't require a petition to the Department of Homeland Security. It requires an interview at an embassy or consulate. So they're pretty easy to get, quite frankly. Visa waiver countries. There's a total of 38 in number. Note that Israel is not a visa waiver country. Why? I don't know. Now, citizens from these countries may travel to the U.S. and stay for a period of no more than 90 days in the U.S. They cannot extend the stay while here, and individuals cannot work. So there's this system, different levels, different layers, for immigrant, non-immigrant, different visas, green cards, temporary visas, extended visas. Obama destroyed the whole thing without any statutory basis. None whatsoever. In fact, as the judge said, he didn't rewrite the law, he wrote his own law. And he supplanted existing law with his own law. So let me circle back. So we have the Wall Street Journal editorial page saying, go ahead and fund it, Congress. Go ahead and fund it, Republicans in the Senate. Hopefully the courts will work this stuff out. But as you and I know, by the time the courts work it out, Obama will have already implemented all of this, and one of the concerns any court will have is how do you unravel all of this? And the idiots at the Wall Street Journal editorial board know exactly the same thing. And the idiots at the Wall Street Journal editorial board also know the entire Homeland Security Department will not be shut. In fact, over 3/4 of it will remain open. And the idiots at the Wall Street Journal editorial board know that the Border Patrol, ICE, the Secret Service, and so forth, they're all essential employees, and they will all remain. They know this. The idiots at the editorial page at the Wall Street Journal also know that the only way to abolish the Department of Homeland Security is not through this mechanism, even if Republicans wanted to do it, which they don't. It would be to deauthorize the department, to eliminate it, and nobody's proposing that. And so the idiots at the Wall Street Journal are involved in propaganda, dissembling, deceit, in order to advance their fanatical position on amnesty. That's correct. And those who oppose them are not those who support law and order, are not those who support a managed system of immigration. No, we're hardliners. We're xenophobes, you see. That's how sick the Wall Street Journal editorial page has become with their ideological fanaticism and zealotry. But then again, they represent the Jeb Bush wing of the Republican Party, don't they? My question for the idiots at the Wall Street Journal editorial page, for McCain and Lindsey Graham, Jeff Flake, for all the other Republicans who endorse blanket amnesty of any kind. Why should we not deport individuals who have violated their visa status after swearing that their reasons for coming to this country were of a particular nature and agreeing to leave when they were over? In not one interview, but 2 interviews. Why should we not deport somebody who overstays their B1 business visa? Why should we not deport somebody who overstays their B2 tourist visa? Why should we not deport somebody who overstays their C visa, transit visa? Why should we not deport crew members who overstay their D visa? Why should we not deport individuals who come here under false pretenses, involved in treaty, traders, investors under the E visa, or students who violate their status under the F visa, or international organization representatives who violate their visa status under the G visa, or the H1, H2 visas, specialty occupation, or seasonal occupation? Why should we not deport these people? They lied in 2 interviews. They signed papers. They're not crawling across the border. They came through the front door, lied repeatedly. What is the point of having a process at all if you just brush this all aside and say everybody comes here for love? There's nothing wrong with our immigration laws. There was nothing wrong with the law that was passed in 2006, 2007 to build physical barriers on the southern border. What's wrong? The politicians, the bureaucrats, the phony think tanks that really do support massive, widespread, ongoing waves of immigration and illegal immigration, which this country has never abided. Never abided. Period. And anybody who says otherwise has not studied the subject. They're just liars, flat-out liars. What's been going on since 1965, right up to today, half a century prior to this time, has never gone on. There needs to be time for assimilation. And without assimilation, we are not one nation. And you can see it now. You can see it with the Luis Gutierrez's and the Jorge Ramoses threatening us, threatening people. If we don't abide an unconstitutional act by a lawless president and subvert a federal judge, we're going to pay for it. Oh, at the ballot box, they're going to show us. These men don't talk like Americans. They don't talk like people who think about an American culture, do they? They talk like racialists who are balkanizing this nation, because that's exactly who and what they are. I want to know, once and for all these people violating all these visa requirements, temporary visas, temporary periods of time in this country, students, IT workers, seasonal workers, circus workers, business people. I want to know why we don't deport them when they violate their visas. What the hell is this? Some kind of a joke? Don't tell me the laws are broken or the system's broken, Clint Bullock. Don't tell me everybody comes here for love, Jeb Bush. And don't tell me you believe seriously in rational immigration policies, you frauds at the Wall Street Journal. This is an outrage. No country does this. Wave after wave after wave of lawbreakers. No assimilation. They don't even talk about assimilation. They don't even talk about an American culture. E pluribus unum. Not everybody for himself. This is another basic tenet, a basic principle of this country. Never before in American history have we had a half a century wave of people coming into this country on their own accord, time and again given amnesty, and it's even worse now. What's worse now is they are now beneficiaries of our welfare system. And this is all done through the back door. Obama did it. He lied about it. Social Security, earned income tax credit, Medicare, in-state tuition. He lied about it. And the Wall Street Journal says Republicans go along with it. Just go along with it. It'll help the economy. What a bunch of frauds. What a bunch of fakes. This is utterly irrational. No country should do this. Certainly not our country. No, we're not against immigration. No, we're not hardliners. We are rational American citizens. We want the laws to be followed. We didn't even pass the laws. Congress passed the laws. Presidents signed them. The bureaucracy issued their regulations. Now follow the damn laws and the regulations. They're perfectly fine.